it's Miss Sarah, and today I'm here to tell you about the 2023 Intermediate Nutmeg nominees. These 10 titles were selected by a group of librarians, school media specialists, along with 2 student readers from across Connecticut. They were picked with students in grades 4 through 6 in mind. So up first, we have Saving Winslow by Sharon Creech. Sharon Creech is the author behind Hate That Cat, Love That Dog, Moo, along with many others. So this novel is about a boy named Louis who doesn't have the best of luck when it comes to saving small animals. When his dad brings home a newborn donkey who is sickly, Louis becomes determined to save him. He quickly bonds with the donkey, who he names Winslow, and through taking care of Winslow, he feels closer to his older brother Gus, who is stationed far away in the army. But the people in Louis' life, especially his best friend Nora, are concerned about how quickly Louis has bonded with Winslow. But Louis and Winslow prove to everyone around him that they are stronger than what people think. If you like realistic fiction, if you like books with animals, if you are maybe interested in being a vet when you are older, you will like this book. Next up, we have The Total Eclipse of Nestor Lopez by Adriana Cubes. So it's about a boy named Nestor. Nestor, more than anything, wants to live in the same town for months in a row and eat dinner with his dad every night. Pretty small request, but his dad's job in the army makes that hard. So with his dad's latest deployment, he is sent to live with his grandmother. And with his grandmother, Nestor just wants to lay low, stay under the radar, and for no one to learn his deepest, darkest secret, which is that Nestor can talk to animals. But when the animals in his grandmother's town start to go missing, and his grandmother is accused of being the one behind the disappearance, Nestor sets out to prove her innocence. And through this quest, he discovers that the person behind the disappearance is a witch, and the witch is a Tule Viha, which is a witch that helps kind of increase their power by sucking the power out of animals. So if you like fantasy, you will like this book. This book incorporates South American and Central American mythology and folklore. Fans of Rick Riordan books will enjoy this book. I suggest this book to anyone who loves mythology and folklore. Up next, we have Finding Langston by Lisa Klein Ransom. This is the first book in the Finding Langston trilogy. So it's about a boy named Langston. Langston is growing up in 1946. His mom has recently died, and his dad moves the family from Alabama to Chicago. Langston, as you can imagine, isn't very happy. He misses the weather, his friends, his family, the food, Sunday night dinners. The one thing that Langston likes is the library in Chicago lets everybody in, regardless of your skin color. Because this is 1946, the library in Alabama was open only to whites. And in the library in Chicago, Langston discovers another Langston, a very famous poet called Langston Hughes. If you're into historical fiction, or books that deal with relationships, you will like this book. Next up, we have When the Stars Are Scattered by Victoria Jameson and Omar Mohammed. The style of artwork in this graphic novel may look familiar to some of you, and that is because Victoria Jameson is the graphic novelist behind Roller Girl and All's Fair in Middle School. So for this graphic novel, she teams up with Omar Mohammed to tell a story inspired by Omar's life growing up in Kenya. So it's about two boys, Amar and his younger brother Hassan, who are growing up in a refugee camp in Kenya. Hassan is nonverbal, and as you guys can imagine, life at a refugee camp is hard. There's not always enough food for everyone, it's boring, and Hassan doesn't have access to the medical care that he needs. So one day, Amar is given the opportunity to go to school. Because if you live in a refugee camp, going to school isn't a given. But for Amar, it's not an easy decision whether or not to decide to go to school. He knows that going to school will give not only him, but his brother opportunities in the future that they wouldn't have otherwise. But going to school means that he's leaving behind his brother, his only family, every day. And Hassan, because he's nonverbal, doesn't really have ways of communicating with others. If you like graphic novels, if you like books about relationships, you will like this book. Next up, we have Night Books by J.A. White. This book is a great book for fans of scary stories. So it's about a boy named Alex who loves scary stories more than anything. One day he sneaks out of his house in the middle of the night and he gets caught by a witch named Natasha. And Natasha takes him back to her enchanted apartment where he is trapped. At Natasha's apartment, he meets someone else, a girl named Yasmin, and Yasmin tells him that there's no way to escape. Well, Alex is determined to escape, and he discovers that Natasha likes scary stories as much as he does. So he's hoping that kind of by telling Natasha scary stories that he will somehow discover a way to get out. This book has really strong, well-developed characters. There's lots of, for lack of a better word, like stereotypes that we see in scary stories, but there's a whimsical nature to them. Next up, we have another graphic novel, Katie the Cat Sitter by Colleen A.F. Venable. So this is about a girl named Katie. Katie, unlike a lot of kids, isn't looking forward to summer. Her two best friends are going away to camp, and she's stuck at home. However, when her neighbor asked her to babysit her cats, things are looking up for Katie. Except her neighbor doesn't just have a couple cats, she has 217. And Katie notices that when she's babysitting the cats, there's all these sorts of hijinks that are going on, and the cats don't seem like normal cats. And on top of it off, every time that Katie cat sits the cats, it coincides with when a cat burglar hits another house or location in her town. So Katie starts to suspect that her neighbor is the Mousetress, which is the name of the cat burglar. So if you like mysteries, if you like graphic novels, if you like books about friendships, if you're just a cat lover, you will like this book. Next up, we have A Galaxy of Sea Stars by Janine Zulik-Ferrullo. So it's about a girl named Izzy. Izzy feels like her whole world is shifting and changing, and she just wants everything to remain the same. Her dad just got back from Afghanistan, and he's acting kind of weird. Her family's recently moved to an apartment over the marina, and her mom hasn't come with them. She's staying at Block Island. And she's starting a new school where she'll be in 6th grade, and she just hopes that her friendships with her two closest friends, Piper and Zelda, stay the same. The girls even have a special name for themselves. They call themselves the Sea Stars. Well, one day her dad announces that his interpreter and his family is going to move in with them, including his interpreter's 11-year-old daughter called Sara. And Izzy, she doesn't know what to make of Sara. She wears a hijab, she won't eat any of the cafeteria food, and she's opinionated and not afraid to speak up And speaking up for herself and saying her opinion is something that Izzy struggles with. Well, over time, Izzy finds that there are things that she likes about Sitara. She likes how she's brave and daring and willing to use her voice. And as the two girls grow closer, Izzy has a tough choice to make. She can kind of stay in her comfort zone, keeping her friendship with the two sea stars, Piper and Zelda, the same, and ignoring her new friend, or she can speak up and kind of risk losing the sea stars forever. So if you like books about friendship and family, you will like this book. Next up, we have The Silver Arrow by Lev Grossman. So this is about a brother and sister named Katie and Tom. They lead dull, uninteresting, mundane, boring lives, and they crave action and adventure more than anything. But nothing exciting ever seems to happen to them until Katie's 11th birthday, when her Uncle Hubert, who she's never met before, he's mysterious, unresponsible, and he surprises her with this gift, a giant silver steam train, and it's called the Silver Arrow. Well, Katie and Tom's parents are going to make Katie return the gift, something that Katie doesn't want to do. But before they can force her to return the gift, the steam train transports them on a magical adventure. If you're fans of fantasy novels, you will like this book. Next up, we have Just Like Jackie by Lindsay Stoddard. So it's about a girl named Robinson Hart. She's named for Jackie Robinson. Everyone calls her Robbie. She lives with her grandfather. But she's noticed lately that her grandfather is starting to forget small little things, and sometimes he can't remember her name. So she has a lot going on in her home life, as you can imagine. And on top of that, she's getting bullied in school. Kids tease her about her name. They tease her about living with her grandfather. And one time she just snaps when this boy named Alex kind of picks on her for like the last time. And she just can't keep her fist to herself. So as you can imagine, she gets in trouble at school. And one of the things that the school says that she has to do is she has to kind of go to this group with some other kids. But her teachers are kind of crazy if they think that she's going to start talking about what's really going on with her, especially when one of the people in her group is Alex, the kid that's been picking on her. So this book is about family relationships, it's about friendship, it's realistic fiction. If you have someone in your life that has Alzheimer's or dementia, you may relate to Robbie. So finally, we have From the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks. Janae Marks is a CT author, and this is her debut novel. So it's about a girl named Zoe who lives with her mom and her stepdad. Zoe is 12 years old, and she loves to bake more than anything. She dreams on being on the Kids Baking Championship. She's very excited because she gets the opportunity to help out for the summer at the bakery of one of her parents' friends. Well, one day Zoe comes home and she has a letter addressed to her, and it's in unfamiliar handwriting. So she opens it up, and it's from her dad. And she's never met her dad. She hasn't heard a lot about him. Through this letter, Zoe discovers that her dad is in jail, and he's in jail for a crime that he says he didn't commit. So Zoe sets out to discover for herself whether or not her dad really did do the thing that he was accused of doing. If you like realistic fiction, if you like books about changing relationships, if you like baking, you will like this book. This book is set in Massachusetts, so some of the places that they are talking about may seem familiar to some of you. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about this year's Nutmeg nominees. You can check out any of these titles along with the elementary, middle, or high school Nutmeg nominees at any of the 3 West Hartford Library locations.